Good day. The ICAP Virtual Career Connections is pleased to present this career enhancement tool for your advancement. The topic of this session is Career Success Stories featuring Overcoming Barriers by Andre Omargibi and Anne Quadagno. We appreciate Andre Omargibi and Anne Quadagno for generously sharing their career stories for the benefit of many. Who is ICAP Professional Services and who is ICAP Virtual Career Connections? ICAP Professional Services is a social enterprise with the purpose of creating jobs in our community by enhancing employability and strengthening job creators. For more information about ICAP, please visit our website at www.icap.net. Let's give you a bird's eye view of the full range of ICAP programs. ICAP is the home of virtual career connections, enhancing employability anytime, anywhere. Community career promoter, promoting you to the next level. International circle, building your proficiency in English, technology, and social enterprise. Creative Genius Apprenticeship, elevating you to lead innovation. For more information about these programs, please visit www.icat.net and look for a special link for each program. In Career Success Stories, our guests address the following career questions. Question number 1. What are the best insightful career tips that you received from others? Question number 2. What are career lessons that you learned the hard way? Question number 3. What are your career journey stages or milestones? Question number 4. What actions in the past led you to secure jobs? In other words, what did you do right to secure jobs in the past? Question number 5. What actions led you or contributed to your advancements, promotions, and pay raises? Question number 6. What advice would you give to your younger version? Question number 7. What are career-related questions for which you are still seeking answers? Enjoy the presentation.
Now, on to our guest speakers and their success stories. First, I'd like to introduce you to our first guest, Andrea Omo-Regby. She's a program associate, International Development Organization. She has numerous skills and has traveled throughout the world. Our next guest speaker is Anne Quadagno. She's a instructional designer, learner consultant, and she does project management. Type of work she likes to do: travel the world, be with family, and watch. The first question: what are the best insightful career tips that you received from others?
Okay, that's a great question. So, one of the things that I received from others, probably later in my career, which I wish I would have known earlier, is not to just get a mentor, but get a sponsor. So within the company that you are in or a company you want to go to, find somebody that will sponsor your career, so that believes in you and brings your name up when opportunities arise and can point you to opportunities. So more than just a mentor to guide you, but somebody to actually be your cheerleader and look out for you and really be that sponsor that you need to grow your career. Another thing is that I learned, or that a tip was actually from my mom, who is, it was interesting that it came from her, but I found it to be true more later in my career because I became wiser. She told me, do not assume that they know you want that promotion or that new position. Just because you're a good worker and a high performer, you need to ask for it. And, at the time, being shy as a younger person in my career, I was too kind of shy or not confident enough to believe that. I thought they'd see my work and then I would be able to get the promotions. But actually, as I went through my career and became a manager myself, I realized that there's a lot of good workers out there. You really just need to put yourself forward and let your manager and your sponsor and whoever know that you're interested in those positions or the advancement.
Well, thank you very much, Ann. Andrea, how would you answer that question? What are the best insightful career tips that you receive from others?
Sure. Thank you, Mark, for the question. Well, for me, I definitely agree with Anne in terms of getting a mentor and having someone that truly invests in you. Another thing that I've found helpful was investing in continuing education, especially within the international development field. We get these degrees, we get our undergraduate degree, we get our master's degree. But we're not always equipped with the specific skill set. So just investing in myself personally definitely helped me just from certification classes in terms of project management, getting more equipped in advanced in Excel, financial budgeting, and also deepening my foreign languages skills certainly helped me quite a bit. And I, for sure, if I hadn't have known that, I would have certainly been lost. Because even now I speak to people just coming into the international development field and they kind of feel lost because they weren't told all of these things. So that's definitely something that's been super, super helpful. And then also I'm naturally someone that likes to ask a lot of questions. So I would certainly say that my mentor just telling me just to be open to new things and asking questions to further develop your knowledge about your career or where you want to go in life. But it also is good to ask yourself those specific questions just to really narrow down what you're passionate about, things that you could possibly compromise on to just better get an understanding of who you are as a person so that you can be beneficial in the workplace.
Well, thank you very much. Technical skills, personal skills, mentorship, and advocating for yourself. Thank you very much. Andrea, can you take the next question? What are the career lessons that you've learned in the hard way?
Sure. So I'm definitely a type A type of person. I wouldn't say that I don't like change, but within the work field, I'm very like, this is what we have to get done, this. I'm very task oriented. So one lesson I had to learn was to truly just to be open to whatever may come my way. At any given in time, I might be working on one task and get thrown another task. And, for someone that's not necessarily open to new things in terms of deviating from one specific thing, I certainly had to learn to be more open. And then another thing was just being open to constructive criticism. So with that, like I did say about asking questions, you also have to be open to that feedback. And just being more mindful of that certainly helped me a lot. And in terms of just learning the hard way about that, because I do have a type A personality, as I did say, I wasn't exactly always open to deviating, and that almost cost us a project because I just got so caught up in doing one thing, and that kind of put a monkey wrench into it. So I had to quickly jump out of that mode and just realize that, what, this is bigger than myself, and you just kind of have to roll with the punches. So I certainly think that definitely applies not only just in your career, but also in life. And then another thing is just also another career lesson that I learned was to build relationships often and early. I'm also someone that can be a little bit more introverted and to myself. And I definitely feel like building those relationships and coming out of my shell certainly improved my relationships when I did leave those positions, in terms of just like when I needed like a recommendation, or even if I just had a question, I could still reach out to that person because I had built a good rapport with that person. So certainly building relationships was definitely something that helped me as well.
Thank you, Andrea. And how would you answer that career lessons that you've learned the hard way question?
Sure, thanks. So, one thing I learned is that you need to get out of your own way mentally. So, I look back at my career and realize that there were times where I was very conservative in my career, meaning I didn't take risks with looking for other positions, going to, changing jobs, et cetera. And really, it's because, when I was a consultant, consultants travel a lot, and I was a divorced mom. So I didn't want to take the chance of poking my head up looking for opportunities because I was worried that they would be like, you've got to travel. So I look back at that and think that there were opportunities where I could have looked for other promotions or career opportunities or other things that would have been rewarding and career beneficial if I didn't have such a mental state of protecting, myself and not having to travel. So I look back and know that I actually could have advanced my career much more than I did at that time and still managed my home life. So I would say kind of get out of your own way with your perceptions.
Oh, thank you very much. Next question. This question is for Andrea. We'll start out with you. What are your career journey stages or milestones that you've visited throughout your career journey?
Sure. So in terms of my resume, it's very broad, but then again, also very specific. I've had experiences working in the nonprofit sector, also working with business organizations. I'm a former intern on Capitol Hill, so I had a little bit of experience working in politics. I also dibbled and dabbled in the legal realm because at one point in time, well, for a pretty long time, I wanted to be a lawyer. My parents are African, so just kind of growing up in a household where it's like you're either a doctor, lawyer, engineer, there's no deviating from that. So starting out, I wanted to be a lawyer. I started off in law school, wasn't really for me, and I found my way back to advocacy. So for me, in terms of milestones, one of the biggest milestones for me was traveling back to Nigeria, specifically Edo State, Nigeria, where I'm from. And one of the things that unfortunately Edo State is known for is human trafficking and sending our women specifically to Italy and other European countries. So that was a really eye-opening experience because I was truly able to help those girls specifically, and also the men that were trafficked to Italy. A lot of them didn't even make it to Europe. So it was a really eye-opening experience to really get to the root causes of why they chose to go overseas or wanted to go overseas. In a lot of cases, they are eldest children like myself, so they feel that pressure. So I was able to interview them and get a better understanding of what they weren't getting from the government. And specifically, they talked about empowerment, something that they were lacking. And I've just noticed that a lot of the experiences that I've had over my life have centered around really empowering marginalized groups and helping them in ways that they can't exactly help themselves. So that was definitely something that was a milestone within my career. And furthermore, just with every experience that I've had, I've certainly deepened my level of understanding of others, cultural biases that might exist. So that has certainly been something that has certainly helped me to just be a better person overall.
Yes, I can imagine those experiences,
Yes.
life experiences and traveling make you a well-rounded person.
Sure.
Anne, how would you answer that question? What are your career journey stages or milestones that you've experienced thus far?
So I would say they're pretty traditional, except for the beginning of my career. When I first started, there seemed to be in the economy a lot of downturn and businesses laying off people and closing and things. And I thought I wanted to work for a small company so I could do wear different hats. And what I found was at the beginning of my career, those small companies couldn't stay afloat. They couldn't make payroll, or they lost contracts, or people didn't pay them. So I ended up changing from thinking I wanted to be more of a generalist in a small company to going to a large Fortune 500 companies. So I'm working at several of them. But after that, it was pretty traditional of, working my way up from an instructional designer to project manager, consultant, manager, learning leader, program manager, etc. So all those things that are related. And I kind of, reason I went into learning was because I get bored pretty easily. So I like the idea of learning new things all the time. So it really fits my, career and my personality to be able to wear those different hats. But even though I say, that it's a traditional path, it doesn't mean, even a traditional path doesn't mean you just wear one hat, right? So I get the opportunity to do things that all connect, but that provide me to use a lot of my different skills.
hmm I would say that Anne and Andrea, you both have a multitude of different experiences as far as career or employment, and you come into contact with different people who come, from different career fields. So it's to me, it's pretty obvious that we all have to. Well, we won't be staying in the same job always, all the time. Uh, and as you, as an instructional designer, you're working with all types of different clients. And Andrea, you've had experiences that a lot of people who are, and sometimes, let's say just in America, may not only have just in one state. So both of you are really valued guest speakers tonight. My next question um, is, what actions in the past led you to secure jobs? In other words, what did you do right to secure jobs in the past? Andrea, can you answer that one for us?
Sure. So I can speak prior to LinkedIn and after LinkedIn. So for me, prior to LinkedIn, with a lot of my positions, I heavily relied on my experiences with school and also with my professors. Starting out after graduating college, I decided to do a graduate certificate program in Boston. And during that time, I had two different internships. One was with the International Institute of New England. So that was working with immigrants and asylees coming to America, and just providing them different resources. And the other one had to do with, was working with the Women's Caucus at the Massachusetts state government. So both of those experiences definitely shaped me in a positive way. So in terms of just securing those jobs, of course, my school did help me, but I did have to also reach out to those organizations. So certainly putting myself out there really, really helped, because I knew that if I didn't put myself out there, nothing was going to happen. So after the time of LinkedIn, I've definitely utilized LinkedIn a lot more. In terms of just reaching out to different organizations, connecting with them, people within the organizations, going on informational interviews. So informational interview isn't like a physical interview. It's before you even apply for a job. Just you're talking to people within the organization, asking them different questions about like the company culture, what they like or dislike about their job, their specific job, and just getting a better feel for it. And I definitely found that to be very useful. And then also just directly messaging HR, people within the HR department to also do informational interviews. So when a position did become available of something that I might have had of interest, I was already in the back of their mind. So that was definitely something that helped me in securing jobs, and just also just getting my name and my face out there, just for so just in case that particular organization didn't have a position, they could reach out to somebody else that might have had a position that they needed to fill. So I was constantly in their mind. So just putting myself out there certainly helped me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how would you answer what actions in the past led you to secure jobs, and what did you do right to secure those jobs in the past?
All right. So what I found, which I'm not sure this is the same for everybody, but for me, one of the foots in the door, especially early in my career, was going to the school that I went to. It's well known for instructional design. And what I found is when people saw that on my resume, it opened doors, right? I wouldn't say that that's probably the case for most people, but if you're going into a specialty field and there's a school or a few schools that are known for that, and you can afford to go and you can make that work, I do suggest that. Even though I'm farther along in my career now, I actually find that just recently with a current client, they wanted to, before I started working with them, they asked me basically what my credentials were, which was interesting. And as soon as all I had to say was where I graduated from, I was prepared to say much more. But once they heard where I graduated from, they were duly impressed, and that just settled it right there. So I would say that if you're getting a specialized degree, that make sure you get it from some place that's well respected. And then additionally, what always has worked for me is really going back to having that reputation, having it internally and externally, and delighting the client. So I know that when you have and you used to have references, now there's a lot of stuff more on LinkedIn, but if you're looking internally, like I've been with my primary company for quite a long time, so the way I find positions are really because of my my reputation, right? So people open doors for me, they stick up for me, they go find things, they sponsor me, etc., because of my reputation. So I would say not only get the credentials, if that's a field that you're in that requires that, but also continue to build that reputation, and then you're able to leverage it, and people will do it for you. They're more than willing to. So don't even be afraid to ask for, their sponsorship or their recommendations to get onto your next position.
Okay. Sounds like, Andrea, you did some job shadowing. Is that what you did when you were doing your informational interviews?
Essentially, yes. So I would just reach out to an organization. I would primarily find them on like LinkedIn, because a lot of them have, they have like their position. So I would read a little bit about their bios, and also read about like what their particular job entailed. So then I would kind of tailor that in my response to them. So that I would just reach out on LinkedIn to them, or just email them, just saying like, hey, I see that you work at this particular organization, that you're in this position. I would love to just kind of pick your brain to get a better idea about how you feel about working at the organization, and just other potential opportunities that you might see that might be beneficial to me, or in ways that we could really work together or network. So I definitely found that to be beneficial. So when I would have these informational interviews, I was fully aware of the things that they were doing, but just to get more detail from them personally. Because of course you can read a website all day with what that organization does, but until you actually physically speak to someone from their perspective, whether it's positive or negative, you can't really, really gauge the organization. So I definitely felt like that was something that was really beneficial to me. So then I could kind of visualize myself working there, seeing that if I would want to work at an organization like that. And of course, Glassdoor, I don't know if anyone on the call has heard of Glassdoor. They do offer us a part of their website where they do reviews. So I would kind of compare and contrast what the person was saying, and then also with the reviews to kind of to gauge what the organization overall was about.
What actions led you or contributed to your advancements, promotions, or pay raises?
Okay, I think I answered that in the last question mostly, but I'll talk about a little bit. I got this great piece of advice about negotiating pay, right? So this is one of the best things, Gabe, I got from Florida State University. So it wasn't even about instructional design. And it was from a professor, Professor John Keller, Dr. John Keller, if folks know him. And he said, you never go first when you're negotiating your pay with an employer. You go first, you lose. You risk being too high or you risk being too low. You're too high, you're out of the job. You're too low, you leave money on the table. So that has always been my guiding principle when negotiating pay, either initial pay or pay raises, is not to go first, to let them go first, and then just to have a little bit of silence and then say, I was thinking higher, and that's it, and let them go from there, because you're not saying you're not going to take the job, but you're giving them the opportunity to offer you more money. And I have used that and it has worked. So that was just like the best piece of advice I got for pay raises.
Well, thank you very much. I think that would have worked on me too. Andrea,
Yes.
what actions led to or contributed to your advancements or promotions or pay raises?
Right. Thank you, Miss Ann. That was actually really helpful, and I'll definitely be using that. So for me, I can give it my perspective from an entry level to mid-level perspective. So I can talk in terms of just already being in that position. For me, it solely stemmed on me just working hard and being consistent, and also taking on outside projects just to prove not only to myself, but also to them that I could handle the work. And also just paying attention to the minute details was very beneficial. And then in terms of just, in terms of pay raises and promotions, I personally, as I've said before, I like to look at Glassdoor because it gives a range of the pay for that particular position that you might be applying for, not only overall, but within the organization. And if they were to ask, in many cases that they do, if they don't already just have a specific budget in mind, because especially within the nonprofit sector, you don't get into the field to make zillions of dollars. You get into it because you truly love working with people. So for me, I would always shoot a lot higher because I knew my worth. But of course, I would always say, of course, I'm open to negotiating. But for me, also sending out letters just to further express my interest after securing the position, and providing them with writing samples, that also helped, and providing them with other things that they didn't exactly ask for, just to show them that, one, I was the ideal candidate and they did need me on the team, but to also enforce the fact that they would be missing out if they didn't, pay me what I was worth. Hopefully that answers the question.
Absolutely. Thank both of you for those great answers. Next question. What advice would you give to your younger version of yourself? And you can also maybe steer us to some free resources if you can think of some of those.
I can answer that question. So I can go back to a story of interning on Capitol Hill. I wasn't exactly supposed to get the position working on Capitol Hill. I was even back then, really interested in foreign affairs. And the specific congressman that I ended up working for, he was heavily interested in agriculture, energy and commerce, and other things like that. But because I'm part of a historically Black Greek organization, and also our intern coordinator, he was interested in foreign affairs. He pretty much vouched for me. And once getting up there, something that he definitely taught me was to network. I was kind of young, so I didn't take advantage of it like I should have at first. But he definitely enforce that to just network and constantly talk to people, and do your research about, you know, different organizations that you might want to work to, and truly try to get in contact with those people, because not everybody has those connections of, oh, if you knowing that person, that's already going to be your foot in the door. So you just making yourself available and showing them that you want the job would have definitely been helpful back then if I would have taken advantage of it. And lastly, I would definitely tell myself to be more confident in my abilities and my skills. And I still tell myself this. As I did speak about earlier, I am a product of African parents. My mom's from Liberia. My dad is from Nigeria. And also just being the eldest, I constantly felt like I wasn't doing enough. And I still have those moments of feeling like, oh, I haven't done enough, even though my resume says one thing. But just for me, I wish I would have told my younger self just to be more confident in my abilities, in my skills. No one has life figured out. And in 2012, I still have this message. A woman that, well, she's now one of my mentors that I had the pleasure of working aside while on the Hill. She told me, no one has life figured out at 24. No one has life figured out at 64. All you can do is work hard, learn as much as you can, and believe that things happen when they are supposed to. Give everything else to your creator. And even to this day, that's something that still resonates with me when I'm having those moments of not feeling as confident in myself as I should be.
Well, thank you very much. And what would you say to that question about advice for the younger version of yourself?
Well, the first thing I would say is exactly what Andrea said. And I found that to be so true for myself is I had confidence in my skills, but I didn't have confidence in myself necessarily. So I wouldn't ask for those promotions. I wouldn't put myself forward for things. And so I think you have to know that if you've built your skills, if you are successful in completing assignments and working like that, to not just have confidence in what you did, but have confidence in yourself. And then that way you can go forward and ask for those promotions. So if I talk to my younger self, I would tell myself, have confidence in yourself. You do a good job. You have the skills and abilities. So go forth and ask for those things that you want. And then the other thing I would say is, don't just settle. Don't settle for comfort in your job, right? Go forward and look for more challenges. Don't be afraid to take risks because you're afraid you'll lose your job, or don't stay at one company because you're comfortable. And I think that, as a class of people, millennials seem to do that really well, right? They know that for career advancement, they have to move around. And I would say that based on my career, I would agree that I wish I would have done that more. I would have told myself.
Mm-hmm. I have a question, additional question for each one of you in this particular area. If you could, I know you all have a busy schedule, both of you, but if you could say something to a younger person or work with an organization, what would be the main focus of your charge when you're working with an organization or a person to inspire them like you have been inspired?
Well, this is Ann. I guess I would say one thing is definitely build your reputation and your network.
Okay.
Those are the two greatest assets you have. right? So if you have your reputation, then your network will help you. If you have your network, your reputation will help you. Having just one of those will not advance you as far as you could go. You need to have both a good network and a good reputation.
Hmm. Always selling yourself.
Well, not selling yourself, but proving yourself, right?
Hmm.
So, I think you prove yourself with your actions, but you
Hmm.
also do have a network so people can recognize it,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? They can recognize that you do well. And also, I also believe in networking that it's not a what's in it for me. It's a how can we help each other, right? Because sometimes you'll just do things for other people with nothing in return, and that's
Hmm.
okay,
Hmm.
and vice versa.
Gotcha.
I definitely agree with Miss Ann on everything that she said. I guess I would go further with it, with just really know what you're passionate about and don't deviate from that. Because if you truly know what you're passionate about, you can be successful at anything. And when you are reaching out to people or you are networking, it doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like you're really trying to connect with people, because of course these people are there to help you, but you never want to come across as if you're just using them to get to your next stage. So if you
Hmm.
truly just develop your passion and you know exactly what you want, you can certainly help them, but they can also help you as well. And it won't come from a place of just advancing yourself without helping them as well.
All right. Great answers. Okay, my last question. What are career-related questions for which you're still seeking answers? Let me start out with Andrea.
Sure. So that was actually a tough question for me. But for me, working in the international development field it is a selfless job and profession, and you often feel like you're not helping enough. So for me, I always ask the question: how can I make a greater impact? How can I help as many people as I can? Is that taking on more projects, or also I've thought about having my own organization. Um, to a certain extent, more like a nonprofit organization or a foundation. So for me, the biggest question that I've always asked myself is, how can I help more people? What are ways that I could also assist other people in helping other people? Because like I said, of course, because nonprofit is a very selfless field, you can kind of get drained and feel like you're not being as impactful as you can. So again, that particular thing for me is just what more can I do to just help more people.
All right, thank you. And how do you answer that question?
Well, that was a hard question for me as well, because I've had a long career so far, but I think you still have the same. I still have some of the same questions I had when I was younger, and it's, do I stay where I am and be safe and comfortable, or do I look outside of my current situation to find something else? So, and I kind of think that most people probably ask themselves that all the time, unless they are just in the perfect situation, which I think is almost impossible. But yeah, I kind of continue to ask myself, is this where I should be?
Well, that concludes our interview process or with our guest speakers. I want to thank you both and sharing your success stories and your perspectives.
Thank you for taking the time to watch these career success stories. More career resources are available at this channel. We greatly appreciate receiving your feedback in the comment section for our future improvement. Make it a fantastic day.